Construction of the controversial Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline is set to resume after a year-long hiatus. The €9 billion Gazprom-led project will run under the Baltic Sea and double Russian gas exports to Germany. President Trump last year slapped sanctions on companies involved in the project over concerns that Europe is too dependent on Moscow for its energy supplies. But Nord Stream 2 is believed to have found a workaround, tasking a Russian-flagged ship to lay the final kilometres of pipe in the Danish seabed. Well, with more on the politics, but also the profitability of Nord Stream 2, our correspondent in Berlin, Kate Brady, spoke with Claudia Kempfert of the German Institute for Economic Research.
Where does this leave Germany right now? We keep hearing that European issues are German issues, but we don't seem to be seeing very much correlation right now, whether it's the stance on the geopolitical issue at hand or the economic issue.
Germany is in between everything, we have to say, because they're in the middle of this kind of geopolitical difficulties and quarrels, which has been ongoing since the very beginning of construction of this pipeline, because not only the sanctions against Russia, but also the geopolitical disputes we saw with the Ukraine and all the rest of it in the last years. And we figured out in our study that this pipeline is economically unprofitable because the pipeline forecasts that there will be a gas demand increase in the future, which we might not see because of climate goals, because of energy security goals that want to diversify the gas imports from as many countries as possible. And so there has been a conflict around this pipeline since the very beginning.
So what do you see at stake now that construction's recommencing on Saturday?
Well, I would really see that the European Green Deal must be pushed forward, and that means that we have to increase the share of renewable energy, more energy efficiency, less fossil fuel infrastructure in general, less fossil fuel, including natural gas in the future, which will come anyhow. So I would see that this is an ongoing issue right now, and be aware that this is just a geopolitical difficult situation, and we should avoid these kind of situations in the future.
Dr. Thomas O'Donnell is an energy analyst at the Hertie School of Governance in Berlin. He says the US sanctions are a fatal blow for the project.
Anybody who's watched European geopolitics for a while knows there are sort of, what shall we say, Russian disinformation campaigns. And there's something quite complex going on here. In a nutshell, there's 2.6 kilometers of the pipeline that are in less than 30 meters of water, and the sanctions apply for over 30 meters of water. So as a sort of propaganda thing, to show that the pipeline is supposedly still alive, the Russians who own this 100% are carrying this out. But the whole rest of the area, in Danish waters especially, it cannot be rebuilt, and it will not be rebuilt. I can't see any way, knowing all the details of these complex sanctions, there's any way to get around them.
So what do you think is going to happen?
Well, the pipeline is essentially dead. And now, so the question is, the German government doesn't particularly want to say it's dead and then have some liability with the company. So it's a delicate matter for them. The EU doesn't have much interest in actually helping the German government. The EU never backed this pipeline. The parliament has voted against it, has made it very clear. The European Commission has basically consistently been against this. And they tried, the German and Russian, Berlin and Moscow tried to do this under German law, and the EU forced European law on it. So, yeah, in any case, I think the American sanctions are bipartisan. They were not, as you said in the beginning about Mr. Trump, he actually refused to impose sanctions. He had permission since 2017 with the Obama sanctions left over from Ukraine invasion. And he refused. And that's why Democrats and Republicans together overwhelmingly in Congress have passed, now it'll be a second law this month. And so this has nothing to do with Trump. He did not want to impose sanctions. And Biden, of course, he doesn't oppose sanctions. He's for it, but he can't stop this either.
It's an unusual opinion for us to hear on this programme. Other people that we've spoken to seem to think it is unstoppable. So if you could just define for us the basis of why it is you think, regardless of whatever construction plans are underway tomorrow, that this pipeline is never going to get completed.
Well, you need insurance. Any company that insures the pipeline will be sanctioned. And already there's an insurance club, it's called, association representing 90% of the insurance companies in the world that could do this. They've already told their members not to do it. There's a certification organization called DNVGL, a Norwegian company. There's only a few companies that can certify all the construction with their standards, their proprietary standards. When they were confronted by the American officials, they backed down. They will not certify the pipeline. They will not certify the ship. So they have to find, the Danes required that this organization certify the pipeline in their waters. If any other, it would have to be a major company that was capable of such a thing stepped up. They don't want to be sanctioned. They're building as many pipelines for the Americans. So that's just on the insurance and the certification front. But the ships also, tens of German companies have gotten calls, my understanding, this month, informing them that if they proceed, they'll be sanctioned. And this report is going to Congress. It's required to be sent to Congress. The State Department will send it in the next few days, is my understanding, listing the companies that have and have not cooperated with the sanctions. Whatever you might think about this is extremely effective.